He and I actually had a conversation a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
And he said to me, I'm still grieving the loss of our marriage. I'm grieving. And I said, Kody, you don't get to tell me that. And he said, yes, I do. And I said, no, you don't. After all of the things that you've said about me on the show and in public and to the world about how you never loved me and all these very hurtful things, you don't get to tell me that you're grieving. If
Hi, besties. It's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. You know, I noticed something. Kody Brown has had a hard time letting go of one wife in particular, and it's the wife that he threw away the earliest in the series, Meri. It's the wife that he has said literally the most horrible things about. I mean, never loved her. She's evil. She's horrible. He doesn't know what she's going to do. He's scared of her. She's unpredictable. She's not safe, right? And yet, during this tell-all, Meri dropped a freaking bomb. And Kody is still, at least as of the fall of 2024, playing games with Meri. So she said to Suki in the very beginning of this episode, of my episode here, this video, she told Suki that only a few weeks before she sat down for this tell-all, Kody had called her and told Meri that he was still grieving the loss of their marriage. I highly doubt Kody would ever admit to this publicly, but this seems to be on par with what Kody has done to Meri for years, where publicly he says these horrible things about her, not in love with her, she betrayed him, wants to go on and on about the catfishing situation, which was completely irrelevant. And can we just talk about how incredibly misogynistic it is? That I don't really care about if you're in a system where the man gets allowed to have more women and gets to cheat on his wife, which is what he was doing. There's no two ways about it. It was infidelity. Under the law, it was adultery. He fathered children outside of their marriage, and she was forced to deal with it because of quote unquote their cult religion. But then if Meri, who's neglected by him, seeks outside companionship of someone to talk to and a friend, it's the worst betrayal ever. And the fact that anyone that follows the show even entertains this idea that Meri betrayed him by doing this, it makes my blood boil. Like, how can anyone with a straight face say that Meri betrayed him? She didn't. Kody betrayed her. Kody abandoned her. Kody's the one that neglected her. But despite all of that neglect and that abuse, Kody is still abusing Meri to this day. Put yourself in Meri's position. You've left, you move away for a period of time, you even have a boyfriend. Your ex calls you up after you and your boyfriend break up, and he says, I'm grieving the loss of our marriage. How many of you have been in a relationship with someone and you call up your ex and your ex calls you and they say something like this to you? I just want to ask the audience here, have you had that happen to you? I can share with you one example that this has happened to me. I had an ex-boyfriend. Now, I haven't been single for 16 years. So this was years and years and years ago. But I was dating a guy before I met my husband. And he and I had been on and off for a while. We lived together for a short period. And then he was in and out of my life for a couple years after that. But we were never together again after we broke up. But after my husband and I got together, he kept coming back into my circle and emailing me and telling me that he missed me and that he wanted to see me and that he missed spending time with me, even though I was at one point engaged. And then the last time he did this to me was after I got married in the very first year of my marriage. And I had to block him because I told him, I'm married. You can't do this to me. When someone calls you up, that's your ex, and tells you that they miss you, they're not telling you that they miss you because they want to have a conversation with you about the end of your relationship. They're playing with you. They're trying to open up your emotional heart and like get you sucked back into them. And I would say that 2 of my exes before my husband that I was with were both narcissistic. And the one I was telling you about just now, he was definitely narcissistic. And he would play games with me like that. And every time I would get away from him and find someone and get happy, it was like the same thing. It was like, it would make me unstable. It would make me question myself. It would make me think, well, maybe we have a chance of getting back together. And then I would entertain that for a minute. And then I would realize that he didn't really do that because he cared. He was doing that because he saw me finding happiness and he didn't want me to be happy, but he didn't want to be with me. It's a way to play games with someone's heart. Kody will not let Meri go even after Meri has left.
If you are grieving, you figure that out on yourself. This is an example of me giving it back to him to carry. He doesn't get to burden me down with his grief of our relationship after all of the things that he said. If I'm not saying he can't grieve, he just can't bring it to me. This is the confusion. This is the confusion that I talk about.
I know that Meri has had quite a bit of therapy, or at least she's been working on herself and doing self improvement. And I think she's starting to understand narcissistic abuse, but I don't believe she's doing the kind of therapy that Christine has been doing. And because I've gone through therapy and because I've had narcissistic family members and ex boyfriends, I want to just share this because maybe this will help you if you're experiencing what Mary's going through. And instead of just gossiping in this video, maybe I could help you a little bit to understand what he's doing to her. So, we all know that he's a narcissist. I know that you guys hate that. Some of you hate that I always call him that. You say, if you say it one more time, I'm going to pound my head on the table. But you can't talk about Kody without talking about his blatant and malignant personality disorder and the damage it does to the people around him. And when you understand the basis of what a narcissist does and what they want attention. They feed off of attention. They feed off of the supply that is given to them, whether positive or negative. Okay. And Kody has said that prior to all of this breaking down, he had a family where everyone worshiped him and he was validated externally through the supply that they gave him of making him feel like the most important person in the world and a god. And so a narcissist doesn't look at you or me as people. They look at us as an opportunity to meet their needs of attention and validation. And it's all a means to an end. And if they have someone in their life that is someone that has given them supply in the past, so someone that has been there to be supportive and be loyal, they have a really hard time letting go of those people because those people are vulnerable to getting sucked back in, and those people will give them the supply and the validation that they need. And for a lot of people, when they break up with a narcissist, it's an extremely vulnerable time because when you get away from their mind games and you can start to see things clearly, you start to feel normal. I remember when I cut off family members, and it took me about a year to kind of decompress what I had gone through. And I realized, the entire life I had lived until I went no contact was so confusing. I felt like I was constantly in this mind game of like never feeling good enough and always being told that I wasn't enough and that I was somehow not meeting some sort of expectation. There were so many lies and mistruths and gaslighting. And then when I got away from it, the narcissists don't want to let you go because they want to keep hold of their supply. And so once they've discarded you and devalued you, they do what's called hoovering, like a vacuum cleaner. They hover around you and they want to suck you back into their vortex. And it's a part of the cycle of narcissistic abuse. And so Kody has had her in the cycle of narcissistic abuse for 30 plus years. And so Meri says, I'm not going to allow him to burden me with his grief. And while it's an interesting way for her to say that, Kody has often said that Meri burdened him with how she felt. And I think it's, sad that they lived in a family where human emotion was viewed as a burden to someone else, right? And he said that he didn't want to carry her burden. And now she's saying, I don't want to carry his burden. He's not asking her to carry any burden. He's not doing that. And I think she's misunderstanding what he's doing. He's trying to suck her back in. And what hoovering looks like is they'll contact, so you cut off contact with the narcissist, or they've cut you off, and then suddenly they make contact with you and they want to apologize, and they promise they're going to change, and they want to be your friend, and they want you to forget about it, and then they start love bombing you, right? And they wanna make you feel good. They call you their favorite ex-wife. They say that you're their friend. They wanna have conversations with you about feelings and talk about what you're gonna do in the future. They wanna remind you how great you are, and they might also do things like force interactions. So they might text you by accident, they might email you, they might call you and say, "Oh, I thought I was calling so and so," right? Or they might run into you in a place where you shouldn't be running into them. They also like to make up crises. This is something that happens in my family, where they always had like a reason they needed to contact me because there was an urgent crisis, and this is always how I got sucked back in. They can also use your family and friends. So if they can't talk to you directly, they might try to establish contact with you through your friends and family, and use your friends and family as like a person to like send messages to. And they also, while they're doing all of these actions, they try to gaslight you and try to make you believe that what you experienced with them wasn't as bad as you thought it was. So they're doing it because they want you to be back in their fold, because they need the supply that you give them, and they want you back. And so in order to get you back, they know they were jerks, and so they need to make you think that what you went through isn't what you really went through. And they need to find a million different ways to get you back in their life. But the truth is that it's just a cycle, because once you get back into their life, nothing will change. It'll be the exact same cycle. You'll go through devaluing, or he'll go through, you go through the love bombing phase, and then you go through the devaluing phasing, and then they discard you, and then they hoover again. And it's just like the sick cycle that they go through. And so he's been doing this to Mary for a million years. And breaking cycles of narcissistic abuse is so hard, especially if they're your partner or a parent or a sibling, because narcissists prey on you and I's empathy and compassion and vulnerability, and our desire to want to see people change and do better. And so they can say all the right things to get you to come back to them. And so what I noticed about Mary is she said, I told him that it wasn't his place to do this to me anymore, and he got mad at me, and he said that I could do this. He had a right to talk to me about this. Cody feels a sense of entitlement that he can do whatever he wants, but and he doesn't respect her boundaries, which is what narcs do. But it also tells me that if he's reaching out to her, he's doing this because he's not getting the supply needs that he needs from Robyn and Robyn alone. Because they're never satisfied with just like enough. They need more. And he has been in plural marriage and polygamy for 57 years. How you don't just, or not 57 years, but he got married when he was like 22. So 35 years, that's how he's lived his life. And you're going to tell a narc that's had constant validation and worship that you suddenly have to like go without that and have only one wife. He will never be satisfied with only one wife. And that's why he always has to try to lure someone back in, even though he doesn't want her. It's just sick. And I would guess that over the years, this is exactly what he did to Mary. And this is exactly how she was strung along. And in this episode, Christine said that Cody played mind games with them. He strung them along. She specifically got angry at Cody for crying when Mary left, because she felt embarrassed that he would do that, because he's the reason why the family fell apart. He doesn't get to cry and be sad that she's leaving because he caused it, and that it's not fair to Mary to put her through that. And Mary and Christine have always been had a lot of friction, but Christine is a truth teller, and sometimes people don't like to be around friends that tell the truth and can see things for what they are. But In October, at least, of 2024, Kody was unwilling still to let Meri go. Meri was obviously in a better place then where she didn't want anything to do with him. And I think even now, we're in June of 2025. She's way better than she was then, right? She's like so much better than she was then. I mean, her and Kody don't have any kind of relationship, but I bet you he's just one bad day away from trying to call her and get her back, even though he says on the show that he doesn't want her back. She is the one that he can't let go. She was the most loyal. She was the most giving. She sacrificed the most for him. And no matter what he says, he cannot let her go. And Meri needs to be strong. And I would recommend to Meri to go no contact because Kody won't give up. Even no matter what he says on this show, he will not give up ever. And this is why Janelle has gone back to him 3 or 4 times in the past because he won't give up. That's why all of them should be no contact with him. So, what are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed and click the bell so you never miss a video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye, guys.